Good morning. I am pleased to welcome you to this video. If the lesson is useful to you, please subscribe the channel for more teaching videos. A poem analysis by Yogarajah Atchuthan. An Irish Airman Foresees his deaths by W.B. Yeats. Outline. Introduction to the poem. Title of the poem. And the poem analysis. Introduction to the poem. The poem An Irish Airman Foresees his deaths is an elegy which has been written in the memory of Robert Gregory, an Irish pilot who died in World War I. This poem recalls the major conflicts that took place in Europe lasting from 1914 to 1919. Senseless tragedy of the war and the impacts of imperialism have been the major themes in this text. Though this poem breaks the tradition of an elegy as a genre, the poem celebrates the genuine heroism of the speaker implicitly. Further, this poem reveals the perceptions of the speaker regarding the prevailing socio-political scenario of the century. Title of the poem. The title carries a verb foresees, which suggests the prediction of the speaker for his own possible death in the battlefield. Though the speaker obviously predicts his impending deaths, his negligence for a resistance increases the curiosity of the speaker to read the poem continuously. Further, the title reveals the identity of the speaker, through which the readers come to know that the persona in the poem is an Irish nationalist and he is a pilot by his profession. Therefore, the title of the poem unfolds the subject of the poem and it leads to his celebration of his own impending death, surprisingly. The possessive adjective his in the title indicates a third-person point of view, though the entire poem has been written in the first-person narration as a dramatic monologue. Analysis of the poem. At the beginning of the poem, the speaker declares his awareness towards his own impending deaths. It has been revealed through euphemism using the diction fates. It has been a technique. Though the diction fate stands for various connotations, it gives a meaning depth in his poem. Analysis continues. Therefore, the speaker indirectly refers to his own death in the first line of the poem itself. The second line of the poem discloses the possible place where the speaker expects his deaths. He will die in the sky. Even though the speaker has been identified as a pilot at the beginning, of the poem, only the dictions in the middle of the poem introduce him as a fighter pilot. The speaker in the third and the fourth lines brings two contradictory statements, which shows the socio-political atmosphere that prevailed in Ireland at the time due to Britain's brutal and oppressive rule of the country as a colony. These two lines refer to the World War I, in which Irish individuals fought on behalf of Britain. Unfortunately, many Irish individuals had to fight for a cause which was not their own, but for Britain's. Those lines indicate how the speaker is detached with those ongoing war, as he does not love Britain, for whom he is involved in the war. Further, he indicates that he does not hate his enemies either he meets in the battlefield, which increases the speaker's contradictory as well as ambiguous feelings towards his actions. In these two lines, the writer alludes the stance of the Irish in the participation of World War I ironically. Analysis continues. Furthermore, the dictions such as fight and guard describes the setting as a battlefield, and through those two dictions, we come to know the speaker is the fighter pilot who is engaged in a war. The repetition of the dictions, though that emphasize the absence of hatred and patriotism as their motives for the speaker to fight in the battlefield. Though these two factors play as the key motives for the people to engage in war, their absence in this poem questions the fundamental need for a person to fight in a battlefield, risking his own priceless life. It further indicates how Irish people were forced to engage in the battlefield on behalf of Britain. The pessimism of the speaker in the poem is wholly political, as the prevailing politics led the speaker for this uncertainty. The speaker identifies himself with the people of Hilton Cross, a region in Ireland, which shows the importance given by the speaker towards his own countrymen. The next line indicates the suffering and the poverty of the people living in Ireland due to Britain's imperialistic rules. The repetition of the possessive adjective my indicates the true care and worries of the speaker towards his own countrymen, though he does not fight in the battlefield with patriotism towards Britain. His loyalty towards his own people is visible with evidence. The diction no highlights the denial of the speaker towards the outcomes of the war. That is, he is well aware that his involvement in the battlefield will bring no joy or loss to his country and its people. Analysis continues. Though this indicates his individual involvement in the battlefield, it shows the ironical situation of the Irishmen as a community. Then the speaker continues to invent the true causes for his involvement in the battlefield. There was no law for him to fight in the battlefield. It was not his duty either. The diction's public men indicates the politician who can be a host for a person to engage in the war. However, the speaker does not have this motive either. The diction's cheering crowds show the concept of patriotism, since there were people to motivate one's actions in a war. Surprisingly, the speaker is not driven by any of these motives. On one hand, it increases the ambiguity of his intention. On the other hand, it increases the curiosity of the readers to find out its true drives. The line, a lonely impulse of delight, shows for what the fighter pilot chooses his own death. Though some readings show it as the adventurous nature of the speaker, many scholars mention his decision for engaging in the battlefield expecting his own death is due to the pointless and meaningless life he underwent during British rule in Ireland. Therefore, it has been a sharp criticism towards British rule in the islands. The dictions, the deaths in the last line of the poem indicates his decision and his preparation. The dictions, the deaths in the last line of the poem indicates his decision and his preparation to lose his own life in the battlefield, irrespective of any key motives for his task. The speaker's life in the country under British rule is meaningless in the absence of political freedom. Though his participation in war does not bring any benefits to his countrymen, he decides to engage in war and to give up his own life, as there will be no meaning in living under the oppressive ruling of Britain. The writer has chosen the point of view of a fighter pilot in this poem, which has enabled to describe the true inner feelings and thoughts of the soldier minutes before his death. This can be contrasted with the point of view chosen by the Sri Lankan writer Kamala Wijeyaratne in her poems Monuments, Musical, and A Soldier's Wife Weeps, which deal with the themes such as tragedy of war and its consequences. Though this poem does not celebrate heroism outwardly, his care and concern towards the suffering of his own countrymen lifts the speaker to a position of a hero in the reader's minds. The readers have sympathy towards the speaker in the poem as he finds pleasure in his suicidal attempts, which he missed in his real life due to socio-political condition of the country. Therefore, this poem functions as a critique against war on one hand. On the other hand, it discloses the suffering and the vulnerability of people under imperialistic rules. Futility of patriotism has been emphasized in the poem, along with the tragedy a war causes to its people. Thank you.